Hey everyone, it's Hafisa from Some of Us. As you know, we've launched a new series called Our Collective Voices, where I'm talking to people in the movement that are doing the work to put people and planet above profit. So today I'm going to be talking with Melissa Byrne. Melissa, can you tell me a little bit about the work that you're doing?
Yeah, hi Hafisa, I'm so glad to be here. And I've done work with Some of Us a long time ago, so it feels like I'm coming home, so to speak, for this. And so I am doing work to make sure that no one has to pay their student loans anymore, and that we get free college going forward, because education is a right and it shouldn't be a debt sentence.
Wow, as a person that's drowning in student debt, I wholeheartedly support this. So why is this so critical now?
It's really critical now because there is $1.7 trillion in outstanding student loan debt that impacts 45 million people in the U.S. and it's only growing because every year when more people go to college, both undergrad and graduate school. And because right now we fund education by either, if you're wealthy, you get free education from your parents, tax-free education at that. You don't have to pay a tax penalty on this huge wealth transfer within your family, or you have to take out debt unless you win the lottery of a scholarship. But let's be clear, it's families that are drowning in debt. It's people in their 80s that are paying off either their loans or their kids' loans or their grandkids' loans. It's people that are 17 that are sitting literally in front of Zoom school. That's at Zoom school right now. Like literally, people went into debt last year to hang out on Zoom. I mean, I at least get paid to be on Zoom when I'm on Zoom.
That's so nuts. If I was paying as much as I paid to go to the University of Maryland and I was on a Zoom for it, you would need to cut me a check to be that class. But
right?
Okay, personally, why are you so passionate about it? Like, how has this affected your life, influenced you?
Sure. So for me personally, so I started college in the late 90s. So I like to joke around that I am like patient zero for student debt. They decided in the 90s that the Congress wasn't going to ever be able to find a way to fund higher education. So they just started doing more lending. And then they deregulated the lending. And it just became like the schools saying, sign this, sign this, sign this. And I ended up with like a lot of debt. And a lot of my peers didn't have debt. So I felt super alone. And then when I finished up school, like most of my paycheck was going towards loans. My peers were able to, rent nice apartments or like put down payments on homes and just go on vacations. And I'm like here, like drowning. And then one day, I was the youngest person at a meeting at the AFL-CIO in DC. It was a meeting on Social Security policy. And this advocate was leading the meeting. He was a guest speaker. He asked everybody to raise their hands if they have student loan debt. I raised my hand. I was the youngest. This was about 11 years ago. So I was like the youngest in the room. I was the only one that had debt. He asked me how much money I had in debt. And I'm like, I'm not telling. He's like, well, as long as you're ashamed of your debt, the banks have all the power. And that was the first time someone really made it clear to me that my student debt wasn't my problem, that it was a societal problem, it was a structural problem, and that I didn't need to be ashamed of my debt. And then he asked me again, how much debt? And I said half the amount, because let's be real, like,
no one wants to share that. It's kind of like I graduated fall of 07. So I didn't think to consolidate my loans. I was like one of the first people in my college, family to go to college. I moved to London for a year. All the banks collapsed. I get back, my student loans are, I think, $1,200 a month. I couldn't put them into deference. I couldn't put them into forbearance. And I was like, I make $28,500 a year. Like, I cannot afford $1,200 a month on student loans. So I was like, if I have to choose between paying student loans or paying my rent wins every month because I will always need a place to live. And people are like, why can't your parents just pay? And I was like, if my parents had enough money to pay my student loans, I wouldn't have student loans. So
and your education would have been cheaper.
It would have been cheaper. I wouldn't have had as much interest. But you're so right. There's a shame aspect of like feeling embarrassed that I wasn't able to afford that, or like I can't afford $1,200 a month. People are like, why not? I'm like, I make $28,500. $1,200 a month is almost my net pay for the month. Like, it's almost just my takeaway. So I guess like the way I want to wrap this up is like, what can people do to support the work that you're doing? We know why it's important. I know why it's important. I know we're not alone in this, but like, what's some actions, some ways that we can really?
So the first step right now is extending the pause on the federal student loan payments because that expires on September 30th. And we are arguing to the administration that if they resume payments, we're going to lose the governor's races in Virginia and New Jersey. Because let's be clear, no one's going to want to vote for Democrats if they have to pay their bill the same month for the first time in a year and a half. And that I really see that the pause is what gets us to a full cancellation, because we need to give the administration, another 6 to 8 months to kind of get comfortable with the idea and to get through all of this reconciliation. There's a lot. There's basically a traffic jam in Congress right now. So we need to extend the pause. So you need to call the White House, you need to tweet them, make TikToks about the importance of extending the pause. You can follow me on Twitter at MCBYRNE. And on my Twitter page, there is a link to donate to We the 45 Million, which is the organization that I'm going to be launching over the next couple of weeks. And then the website for that organization is going to be cancelstudentdebt.com, which hopefully will have amazing SEO on it. So if everybody wants to know about cancel student debt, just go to cancelstudentdebt.com, and then you will be, that's just the start. And it's talking to your members of Congress, it's talking to your peers. A lot of folks, I wouldn't talk about their debt. So if you are under the age of 40, you probably have half your friends have student debt if they went to college. And a lot of their parents might have debt through PLUS loans. So I would just really just talk about it and have people just badger on it and be vocal, and just, we'll get this done and then we'll get through college.
That sounds good to me. All right. Thanks so much for taking the time. This has been awesome.